This video will show you how to find the area of a triangle. Remember that area is a measurement of space inside a 2D object. So it must be measured in square units. So you might be using, square centimeters, maybe square meters, maybe square millimeters, sometimes even square kilometers. Let's have a look at this visual to help us out. You can see here that we have a rectangle that's been split in half diagonally. You can see by splitting this rectangle in half, we've made a triangle. And that is how we can prove and find a way to find the area of a triangle. This one's also quite similar. You'll see the orange here is the triangle that we might find the area of. You can see this part in here, this has actually been flipped over and rotated, and you can see that that part, it makes up a little rectangle of its own. This part of the triangle has also been flipped over or rotated around. And you can see that that makes a rectangle of its own. Really what both these visuals are proving is that any triangle is half of a rectangular shape. So we can relate it to the formula of finding the area of a rectangle. And because a triangle is half, then we just halve it. The important point to think of though is don't think about length and width. You'll see here, we want to think about the height of the triangle and the base of the triangle. You'll see in a couple of examples later on why that's important. So there really are two formulas you can have for finding the area of a triangle. You can have half of base times height, which is half times by the base times by the height. You can see that the base and the height are there. Or you can have the base times by the height divided by 2. Or you might like to think of that as the base times the height and then dividing it by 2. Dividing it by 2 being the same really as halving it. Whichever one works best for you. Personally, I prefer to use this one to multiply the base times by the height and then halve it afterwards. Let's go and look at applying this to some problems. So I've written in the middle here to remember that the formula for finding the area of a triangle, the space inside the triangle, is half base times height, or base times height divided by 2. In the first example, you can see that the height is 3 centimeters. You can see that the base, the length of the base, is 4 centimeters. So the area is going to be equal to the base times by the height divided by 2. So the base is 4, the height is 3, and then we divide that by 2. 4 times by 3 is 12, so that will give us 12 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6, so the area of this triangle is 6 square centimeters. Remember, must be a square unit if we're finding the area. Interesting to note with this second triangle, you can see this is one where there are some slanted sides. This is the type of triangle where it's important that you must find the height. Sometimes problems might try and trick you and might give you a measurement on one of these sides. Ignore those. You want to be able to find the height to use this formula, base times height divided by 2. So the area of this triangle will also follow that formula. The base of this triangle is 8 millimeters. The height is 9 millimeters, and then we're going to divide that by 2. 8 times by 9 is 72. I worked that out because I know that 10 times by 8 is 80. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. Half of 72 is 36, or 72 divided by 2 is 36. So the area of this triangle is 36 square millimeters. Sorry, I will circle that answer so it doesn't get confused with some of my working out. Again, finding the area, it must be a squared unit. Here's 2 final examples. You'll see in this first example that this time the height is shown on the outside of the triangle. It really isn't part of this triangle. Still, that is the height of this triangle, so that is the measurement that we are going to use for the height. The base of the triangle measurement is listed here. So the area, again, will still be equal to half of the base times height, or base times height divided by 2. The base is 14, the height is 10, and then we're going to divide that by 2. 14 times 10 is 140. Divide that by 2 is going to give us an answer of 70 square meters. Again, area measurement must be a squared unit. Now, final example on the right, you can see it's one of those ones where there are measurements given on the slants. They might be important if you're finding the perimeter, but when we're finding the area, we are only worried about the base measurement and the height measurement. Okay, then we can apply the formula of base times height divided by 2. The base of this triangle is 14 meters, and we're multiplying that by the height of 5 meters, and then halving it. 14 times by 5 is equal to 70. And then we halve that. 70 divided by 2 is 35. And the answer is in square meters. To recap, to find the area of a triangle, half of base times height, or base times height divided by 2. Remembering that because we're finding the space inside a 2D object, then our answers must be a square unit.